Hello, this is NEWSLIVE on Viewer Television. I am Nsikak Evans. The headlines. President Muhammadu Buhari arrives in Glasgow ahead of climate conference. House of Representatives Committee on Steel summons Premium Steel Managing Director over wreckage of multi-billion-dollar investment. Plus, the COP26 Climate Change Summit must act to save humanity and protect the planet, United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres says. President Muhammadu Buhari has arrived safely in Glasgow, Scotland for a climate change conference. The statement issued by the presidential spokesperson Garba Shehu said Buhari would deliver a speech at the summit on Tuesday and outline its country's effort in reducing global warming. The president is expected to meet with U.S. President Joe Biden and French President Emmanuel Macron. The U.S. President Joe Biden and his Nigerian counterpart Muhammadu Buhari among 120 heads of states attending the two-week summit. The climate change conference, dubbed COP26, is a UN-sponsored conference to review the aftermath of the 2015 Paris Conference. President Joe Biden of the United States says for the United States it is imperative to see change. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari on Sunday hosted the national leader of the All Progressives Congress, ABC, Bola Tinubu, at his official residence at State House, Abuja. Speaking to State House correspondents after the closed-door meeting, Tinubu dismissed the insinuations that he was in the presidential villa to discuss politics with the president. He, however, stated that his mission to the seat of power was to thank President Buhari for visiting him when he was recovering from surgery at his residence in London. The president, who had stayed back in London after attending the Global Education Summit on financing global partnership for education, paid Tinubu what had been described in some quarters as a surprise and unexpected visit.
First of all, to thank the president for his visit to my residence in London after the surgery, and wishing me well, lifting my spirits, and did what an exceptional leader would do to collaboration. That's all. That's what I came for. I'm welcoming back from the trip from Saudi.
Now, the House of Representatives Committee on Steel has summoned the Managing Director of Premium Steel, Persanta Mesher, for failing to appear before an ongoing investigation into the mismanagement of Delta Steel Company, Alaja. The summons became necessary following his refusal to testify over the wreckage of the multi-billion-dollar steel company, which was established in 1979 by the federal government to drive industrial revolution in Nigeria. Let's take the report on that.
These are council and management team of Premium Steel staging a walkout from the public hearing organized to investigate the immediate and remote causes of the collapse of the multi-million-dollar investment by the federal government. The committee turned down the request of a Premium Steel counsel to speak on behalf of the managing director, but the committee rejected the move, insisting that the MD must appear in person.
The deputy chairman say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So, Mr. Man, you can step down.
Honorable Benjamin Ibakpa had earlier briefed on the importance of investigating the takeover by Premium Steel from Global Infrastructure, the downward slide, and why it became expedient at this time in the life of the country. Also, the Minister of State Mines and Steel Development, Uche Oga, exonerated the ministry in the taking over process of Delta Steel from Global Infrastructure to Premium Steel, but called for an open investigation.
Mr. Chairman, it was discovered that the new company that did that acquisition was actually registered when the bid for this acquisition was already on. That is to say that that company was registered to buy Delta Steel. And as it is today, Delta Steel, a lot of the equipment in that place that used to employ over 5,000 young men and women is a ghost of its own shadow.
There are a lot of issues on that asset because the asset was used to borrow money, and in the process of borrowing money was transferred to AMCON, and AMCON had to sell. Is it not true? Yes. So why you say I know? Because the global infrastructure was involved, but along the line, they were involved. They used the asset, which was one of the reasons they were not supposed to use the assets of the company to borrow money. So they borrowed money, and in the process, the banks had to transfer the debt to AMCON, and AMCON now sold the asset to Premium Steel. So that's the situation. So for me, there's a lot of detailed work that need to be done as regards to the issue of the sale of our DSC Alaja.
Stakeholders at the event also spoke on the gory tale of balkanization of the Delta Steel edifice by Premium Steel management by restive youths of the community.
There are just about 3 of them that are running the entire company as we speak today. No other person is there with them. They are taken with about 20 community boys. Those are the only people you can find in that yard if you go there. But if you go to the school, you see them increasing school fees almost on every term, just to extort money from our students and children who are attending the school. Their concentration is only on the school and the hospital. Then they sell our lands on a daily basis under the platform of they were directed by the federal government, to sell.
To resuscitate the plant by revoking the agreement given to Premium Steel to run the plant. Premium Steel is not capable. It's not capable. They don't have finance. They don't have money to run the plant. They are just there using the facility, the schools, and the selling all the properties that belongs to government there to cause more confusion, to destroy the plant.
The investigation is expected to continue on Wednesday, the 3rd of November, when the managing director of Premium Steel is expected to appear to testify before the committee.
Gunshots were reportedly fired at the Plateau State House of Assembly on Monday to disperse groups of youths from causing havoc. It was reported that a group of youths loyal to the pitch speaker, Abok Ayuba, stormed the assembly displaying placards with different inscriptions to protest the removal of the politician. While they were reportedly dancing, those who were reportedly dancing to music opposite the main entrance of the house. Another group reportedly forced their way into the assembly through the back gate of the assembly premises. Members of the new group, according to the reports, shattered the glass door which led to the chambers of the house where the embattled speaker and some members loyal to him were having a meeting. When those standing outside recognized some of the youths within the assembly premises as those loyal to the Yakub Sanda group, they reportedly began scaling the gates manned by security forces to also gain entry. To avoid the protesters from causing more chaos, security agents at the State House reportedly began firing shots in the air to disperse the people. The youths, however, according to reports, stood their grounds as some of them who earlier scampered for safety regrouped and resumed their singing, displaying their placards. Now, still talking about Plateau State, the embattled speaker of the Plateau State House of Assembly, Abok Ayuba, and some members of his group have been arrested within the vicinity of the State Assembly in Jos. The State Police Commissioner, Edward Ebuka, and some key officials of the different security outfits in the state ushered them into Hilux vans after laying siege in the State Assembly since dawn. Abok was whisked away through the back gate of the State Assembly shortly after security agents bombarded the peaceful protesters and journalists with tear gas and sporadic gunshots to disperse them. At the time of this report, security agents who had besieged the premises had withdrawn leaving few personnel loitering around the vicinity while the tear-eyed youths reappeared in groups discussing the development. Now, resentful by the outcome of the litigation arising from the allegation by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) against the Kogi State government that 20 billion naira was transferred to another account. Although the anti-graft agency had withdrawn the case, however, the House of Assembly has vowed to investigate the matter to a logical conclusion. The Speaker of the State Assembly, Matthew Kolawole, who disclosed this while speaking during the presentation of the 2022 Appropriations Bill by the State Governor Yahaya Bello, says the Assembly would stop at nothing to get to the root of the matter. Kolawole explained the action of the EFCC is a clear manifestation of the probity and transparency of the governor's style of governance. Now, when NEWSLIVE returns, Minister of Defense Bashir Magashi says it is processing plans to declare bandits terrorists. Details of these and more comes to you after the break. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is NEWSLIVE, a recap of the top stories. President Muhammadu Buhari arrives in Glasgow ahead of climate conference. The House of Representatives Committee on Steel summons premium steel managing director over a wreckage of multi-billion-dollar investment. Plus, the COP26 climate summit must act to save humanity and protect the planet, United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres says. Now, Governor Bello Matawalle of Zamfara State has approved the reopening of 7 weekly markets that were earlier closed as part of measures to address the state's security challenges. Now, the State Commissioner for Information, Ibrahim Dosara, announced this in a statement he issued on Monday in Gusau. He noted that the state government, however, did not approve the reopening of the livestock markets, warning against any attempts to violate the order. The commissioner added that the government would not hesitate to once again close down any market found to be violating the order. Now, the Director General, National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, Kashifu Inua, has reiterated that protecting the personal information of Nigerians online is a top priority as data remains a critical component of the digital economy. Inua stated this while participating in a panel discussion during Nigerian Bar Association Annual General Conference held in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Represented by Olufemi Daniel, Inua noted that every moment spent on the internet leaves personal data footprints on social media and search engines, making the companies get richer through free services, but with the personal data of individuals stored online. He said research has shown that the value of individual personal data on digital platforms is about $12 per person, thus paving way for technology companies to generate revenue. The NITDA boss further disclosed that the recent decision of the Court of Appeal in the case of Incorporated Digital Lawyers versus Nigeria Identity Management Commission showed that the judicial system has begun to appreciate the importance of the digital technology in modern life, especially with the court ruling that NDPR is a national law on data protection and extension of Section 37 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Minister of Defense, Bashir Magashi, says it is processing plans to declare bandits terrorists. The minister revealed this during an operational tour at the headquarters of Operation Hidden Kai in Maiduguri in the company of service chiefs, which include the Chief of Defense Staff, Chief of Naval Staff, and the representative of Chief of Air Staff. The Defense Minister said the federal government will provide support for the ongoing campaign against insurgency and focus on the next mode operation in continuing the successes recorded in the war. He further added that it's working on declaring bandits terrorists.
Classified as terrorists, but we are waiting for the procedure to be completed. Okay?
Thank you very much, sir.
Of activities that are taking place in the theater of operation. Remarkably, there is a lot of progress, and we are happy that the troops are on alert and ready to do the necessary operations.
Nigeria's Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Awal Gambo, says the Navy has built a vessel known as Seawards Defense Boat 3. He made the disclosure in Abuja at the weekend in the chat with journalists after he met behind closed doors with President Muhammadu Buhari shortly before the president departed the country for Glasgow to participate in the United Nations Climate Change Conference. He said he was in the State House to intimate the president on the development, as well as seek his approval to inaugurate the boat later in the year. Rear Admiral Gambo revealed that he got a positive response from the Nigeria's leader. The naval chief says with the successful completion of the boat, the Navy is more prepared to fight pirates. He further said Nigeria now has the capacity to build same for other countries. The National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons has solicited collaboration with the media in the fight against illicit circulation of arms in Nigeria. The national coordinator of the center, Abba Diko, stated this while he paid a courtesy visit to the Director General of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Yakubu Mohammed, in Abuja. The visit of the national coordinator availed the opportunity to acquaint the Director General of the NTA with the mission and objectives of the center, as well as progress made towards the actualization of its core mandate. According to DICO, the proliferation of illicit small arms and light weapons increases the insecurity situation across the country. He recommended that efforts be made to outrightly stop all other illegitimate organizations purporting to have the mandate of control of small arms and light weapons in the country. President Muhammadu Buhari had directed the establishment of the center on 3rd of May 2021 following a review of the security architecture of the country. The Minister of State for the Federal Capital Territory FCT, Dr. Ramatu Tijani, has pledged that the administration will continuously put at the front burner the issues and challenges affecting orphans and vulnerable children in the territory. She stated that the issue and challenges ranged from poverty, gender-based issues, illiteracy, harmful traditional practices, self-reliance, economic empowerment, and other vagaries that are peculiar to the plight of orphans and vulnerable children. The minister, who stated this at the 15th anniversary celebration of the Fatherless and Motherless Aid Organization of Orphanage in New Karo, Nasarawa State, says already many non-governmental organizations are set to come up with interventions to resolve the issues with social-economic stabilization of the society. Represented by the Director for Gender, Grace Adayilo, the minister said the prevalent presence of orphans created by conflicts, hike in crime wave, sexual and gender-based violence, brings to the glare that the crucial role orphanages play, particularly in stabilizing the economic well-being of the society by way of raising a responsible generation of children while equipping them with skills of self-sustenance. In her remarks, the founder of and coordinator of the orphanage, Ngozi Annie George, said the orphanage, which currently has 30 children, with the eldest being 16 years and the youngest a year old, has been able to provide opportunities for the children to develop their talents to full potential. And talking about business, the Central Bank of Nigeria has commenced the 100 for 100 policy on production and productivity, with the unveiling of an operational framework to guide interested companies in participating in the initiative. The framework which was released revealed the conditions interested companies must meet to qualify for the program. The governor of CBN, Godwin Emefiele, during the launch of the e-Naira, announced plans to introduce a new financial instrument to boost local production and productivity in various sectors of the economy. Emefiele said the initiative was based on the conviction that with the right support, the country would begin to see a significant, measurable and verifiable increase in local production and productivity, thereby reduction in certain imports, increase in non-oil exports, and improvement in the foreign exchange generating capacity of the economy. Under this policy, Emefiele said the CBN would advertise, scrutinize, and financially support 100 targeted private sector companies in 100 days. In the framework, the CBN noted that the selection criteria for participation under CBN's 100 for 100 PPP would be premised on immediate contribution to economic growth, jobs creation, and social impact. He added that the criteria to be used in the selection process would be evidence-based, transparent, and measurable. The bank also said that it will, among other things, provide Naira intervention funding as well as foreign exchange for selected companies to purchase new machineries. Now, still talking about the e-Naira app, the initial enthusiasm that greeted the launch of the e-Naira last Monday seems to have waned, as the number of downloads has reduced in the last 5 days, rising from about 180,000 on Tuesday to roughly 220,000 on Sunday. Within 48 hours after the app was launched on the App Store and Google Play Store, the number of downloads of the e-Naira Speed Wallet and the e-Naira Merchant Wallet was about 180,000 combined. However, following the barrage of negative reviews, the e-Naira Speed Wallet, which is meant for consumers, was taken down for about a day, upgraded, and then restored. Since the app was returned on Google Play Store and App Store, downloads have not risen significantly. Muda Yusuf said the initial enthusiasm that led to the downloads of the e-Naira app might have been based on curiosity. Yusuf further argued that the issue of trust also needed to be addressed. Attempts to get the comments of the CBN on the development were not successful, as calls made to the spokesperson Osita Nwanibsobi were not answered. The Nigerian Institute of Environment Engineers has called on the need to improve the environment through energy sustainability policies. The institution made the call in a statement issued after the 20th International Conference, the annual general meeting in Ogun State. The national chairman, Olalekan Ajani, said the energy resource potential is diverse for every state, but the principle for sustainability and having an improved environment remained universal. The institution highlighted the need for a collaborative effort from all professional bodies in salvaging the environment and improvement on the application of green technology from locally sourced materials. He said engineers should champion the course to be the main solution provider for sustainable, pragmatic environmental issues. Now, the Ministry of Mines and Steel Development has called on the architectural community to be more active in the global climate change agenda and minimize the negative impacts of buildings. The Minister, Lekon Adegbite, made the call at the Building Information Modeling Workshop organized by the Association of Consulting Architects of Nigeria. According to the minister, green architecture essentially minimizes the harmful effects of construction projects on human health and the environment. Now, the Security and Exchange Commission has vowed to apply stiff sanctions to any capital market operators who engage in an unethical conduct. The Director General, Sec Lamido Yuguda, said the Commission had resolved to intensify monitoring and surveillance of the market. He spoke at the annual Stockbrokers Conference of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers held in Lagos. According to the statement, according to him, the operators are the face of the market and they interact daily with investors. Therefore, they have to demonstrate the highest level of integrity and transparency in conducting their activities. Yuguda urged CIS to mandate its members to take annual professional development programs that would address emerging issues in the industry. The Director General thanked the CIS for organizing the yearly event, adding that the annual conference had over the years established itself as a major calendar event on the schedule of policymakers and market participants. You are still watching News Live on Viewer Television. We now bring you to international and sports news right after this break. Stay tuned.
Welcome to News Around the World on Viewer Television. I am Wokedi Doris. Now, South Africans have started voting on Monday in municipal elections with the ruling African National Congress facing discontent over poor services and stark inequality 27 years after ending white minority rule. The ANC's rise to power in 1994 drew a line on the centuries of racist oppression of the country's majority blacks by the descendants of white settlers. Critics say the liberators have proved less effective at more modern tasks like fixing drains, supplying clean water, and keeping the lights on. Failures to maintain roads, sewage treatment plants, and cracking coal-fired power stations could cause the legacy part of late liberation hero Nelson Mandela. Analysts expect his votes share to fall below 50% for the first time, from 54% in the last local polls itself. The ANC's worst outcome yet. The ANC seeks to win back metropolitan areas it lost to opposition-led coalitions in 2016, including the respective political and commercial capitals, Pretoria and Johannesburg. President Cyril Ramaphosa, who remains popular, promised on the campaign trail to make service delivery a priority. Now the climate summit of COP26 must act to save humanity and protect the planet, UN Chief Antonio Guterres said Monday, warning that currently we are digging our own graves. Top on his list of summit priorities, the United Nations Secretary General said countries must keep the Paris deal goal of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius alive, calling for decarbonization of global economics and the phase out of coal. He said world leaders need maximum ambition to make the summit a success. Tensions are running high at the summit over funding shortfalls and unequal access to COVID-19 vaccines that prevented some delegates from attending. Guterres called on rich nations to meet their promises of providing $100 billion a year in climate funding for poorer nations. He also urged global leaders to do more to protect vulnerable communities adding that nearly 4 billion people suffered climate-related disasters over the last decade.
And it's time to say enough. Enough of brutalizing biodiversity. Enough of killing ourselves with carbon. Enough of treating nature like a toilet. Enough of burning and drilling and mining our way deeper. We are digging our own grave.
Now, Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida declared victory on Monday after leading his ruling coalition to a strong majority in national elections. Kishida, a soft-spoken centrist who has been in office for a month, vowed to boost the world's third biggest economy with a fresh pandemic spending package, which he said he would draft this month. He also said Japan would take a leading role in working towards zero emissions in Asia, a day before he heads to Glasgow for the COP26 summit. The long-ruling Liberal Democratic Party and its junior coalition partner, Komeito, won 293 of the 465 seats in Parliament's lower house, local media reported, while the official result was finalized. Investors shared the results, with the benchmark nickel stock index rising more than 2% after the ruling bloc limited its losses to beat exit poll predictions. The coalition had previously held 305 seats in Parliament and the LDP 276 on its own. Kishida took office a month ago after his predecessor, Yoshihide Suga, resigned just a year into the job, partly due to public discontent over his response to the COVID-19 crisis.
大変厳しい選挙でありましたが、引き続き自公政権の安定した政治の下で、そして岸田政権の下で、この国の未来を作り上げていってほしいという民意が示されたことを大変ありがたく、また身が引き締まる思いで受け止めて。
Now down to Australia. Australia's border has reopened for the first time in 20 months, sparking emotional reunions at Sydney Airport. Only vaccinated Australian citizens are allowed into the country for now. The rules have also changed to allow vaccinated Australian citizens to travel internationally without having to apply for an exemption to leave the country. Australia closed its border at the start of the pandemic, allowing only a limited number of citizens and permanent residents to return from abroad, subject to a mandatory 14-day quarantine period in a hotel at their own expense. There were more than 1,200 new COVID-19 cases recorded across Australia on Sunday, with 1,036 in Victoria and 177 infections in New South Wales. Nearly 77% of all Australians have now been fully vaccinated, and more than 88% have received their first dose. That's all our news around the world. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us, and on sports, I am Ernest Mbe. Now, the second edition of the IWTF African Western Region Championship serves us at the Malode Okoya Thomas Hall of the Teslim Balogun Stadium in Lagos on Monday. Host Nigeria will slug it out with Ghana, Ivory Coast, Benin Republic, Togo and Liberia at the 4-day championship, with teams competing for honors in 7 events. Secretary General IWTF Western Region Jermaine Caro said all was set for the championship. He also expressed his happiness of the region getting back to action after the COVID-19 pandemic prevented the staging of the tournament in 2020. The chairman, Lagos State Sports Commission, Shola Ayepeku, also gave the assurance that Lagos State ready to host the tournament in compliance with COVID-19 protocol. And moving on to football now, Tottenham Hotspur has announced the sacking of Nuno Espirito Santo and his coaching staff after just 4 months in charge following their 5th defeat in 10 Premier League games. This came as a result of their underwhelming performance against Manchester United over the weekend, where they lost 3-0 at home. Sports chairman Daniel Levy and managing director of football Fabio Patrici are understood to have met on Sunday to discuss the Portuguese manager's fate, and the outcome was a statement from the clubs on their official website on Monday saying that Nuno and his coaching staff had been relieved of their duties. Tottenham have lost 5 of their past 7 Premier League matches and are 8th on the table, 10 points behind leaders Chelsea. Nuno, a 47-year-old, was announced as the new boss of the North London club on June 30th, replacing Jose Mourinho, who was sacked in April. The club also added that a further coaching update will follow in due course. Now moving to the UFC, Glover Teixeira wrote his name into the record books by capturing the UFC light heavyweight title at the UFC 267 on Sunday night in Abu Dhabi. Teixeira, who turned 42 on Thursday, set a new record as he became the oldest fighter to win a UFC title for the first time by defeating defending champion Jan Blachowicz in the main event at the Etihad Arena. Teixeira's victory came in his second attempt at the championship gold, with his first resulting in an unanimous decision defeat to John Jones at the UFC 172 in 2014. After the championship belt was wrapped around his waist, Teixeira said that by capturing his first title in his 40s, he confounded common opinion about aging fighters and their ability to compete at higher levels. And that's all we can take on sports. Over to the main news desk. Thank you for watching.
And that's all on NEWSLIVE. But before we go, a recap of the headlines. President Muhammadu Buhari arrives in Glasgow ahead of climate conference. The House of Representatives Committee on Steel summons Premium Steel Managing Director over wreckage of multi-billion-dollar investment. Plus, a COP26 climate summit must act to save humanity and protect the planet, United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres says. Thanks for watching, and do enjoy other interesting programs on VIEWERTV.